DeAndre Ayton does not love basketball. It's as simple as that. He's the biggest reason the Suns were sent home early in the playoffs and finished with a disappointing season. I mean, this team had some high title hopes and pushed all their chips to the center of the table getting KD, and it was not for an embarrassing second-round exit. The Suns fans were right to boo them. A lot of the blame falls on DeAndre Ayton's shoulders. I mean, there's a reason the Nets didn't want him in any KD trade, and the Suns were hesitant, and they were forced by the salary cap to bring him back. As a past first overall pick in the draft, in a draft class with Luka, Trey, Jaren Jackson Jr., Shea, Mikal Bridges, just to name a few, you would expect Ayton to be dominating on both sides of the court by now. If you take into consideration his size, strength, and agility, you'd expect him to be a pick-and-roll nightmare who could hit 18-footers, dive to the rim, or play with his back to the basket. On the defensive end, you would expect him to be blocking shots left and right, but he averages less than one block a game. Ayton has all the physical tools to be dominant in the NBA, but what he doesn't have is the love for the game that it takes to compete with the best players in the world. In other words, DeAndre Ayton is soft. When Chris Paul first got to the Suns, one of the first things he did was glue himself to Ayton in practice, being his mentor, trying to develop him as a player. It seemed like Chris Paul was the mentor Ayton needed to unlock his game, and in their first season together, they made a run all the way to the NBA Finals, and Ayton was a big part of that. After Game 4 against the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals, Chris Paul had this to say about Ayton, following his monster 19-point, 22-rebound game in a Suns victory to take a 3-1 lead in the series.
That man over there, DeAndre Ayton, he's going to get him a bag this summer. He's going to get him a bag, and he's showing everybody right now during the playoffs why.
Ayton continued his stellar play in the finals, where he played excellent defense on Giannis and put up some of the best plus-minus stats on the Suns. But that bag Chris Paul talked about is what changed everything for him. It was all downhill from there. Ayton grew frustrated with ownership for being reluctant to pay him and grew annoyed at his teammates for expecting more from him. He seemed to always be in arguments with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and Monty Williams in discussions about rotations and effort. Since his 4-year, $133 million deal, he took his foot off the gas and isolated himself from his teammates. Just over the past few months, we've seen Ayton get in arguments with players and coaches, like when Monty Williams was holding him accountable in a timeout while Ayton points his fingers at other players. Or when cool, calm, and collected Mikal Bridges had words for Ayton during some free throws, making Bradley Beal react like this. Just this playoffs, he had multiple instances of being soft. Jokic once said that DeAndre Ayton plays really well defensively, and I know Jokic is hard to guard, but Ayton did not put up a fight all series long. Jokic was getting wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted, with little to no resistance from Ayton. Here's a video of Ayton just standing and watching. Jokic and KD go at it as if he isn't even part of the game and doesn't need to rebound the ball. He then went on Instagram and replied with a clapping emoji to posts of this video before blocking everyone who posted it. Ayton's softness extended past his poor play. He leaves Chris Paul hanging not once, but twice here. And right here, you can see Ayton leaving the huddle and sitting down alone when he didn't like what Booker and KD were saying about his play. All this led to Ayton getting less and less minutes as the series went on, before he decided he wasn't playing in their Game 6 loss against the Nuggets. It's safe to say he won't be a Sun next season, but the question is, where will he end up, and how much are teams willing to give up for him?